I'm terrible. Okay, we're ready. Go ahead, Ted.
Okay, tonight we are thrilled to have Joseph Matara walk us through his powerful story, present his transformational work in Kenya, and share insights for us as teachers who seek to really foster social entrepreneurial skills in our students. As a team teacher at Waldick, it's been my highest honor. I say that from the bottom of my heart to work closely with Joseph over the last 5 years. From the second that I met Joseph, I sensed his humility, his huge heart, his wisdom, and his vision. My life and those of my students have truly changed for the better since working alongside this extraordinary leader. I know that you'll be inspired as well to hear his story and see the work that he's doing. Joseph is the founder of the Grace Project in Kenya. His mission is to transform the lives of children and their families through education, healthcare, and sustainable agriculture. Joseph currently serves as the Chief Operating Officer of Unbound Philanthropy in New York and London after having served as Chief Financial and Operating Officer at the Victoria Foundation and New Community Corporation in Newark. As you will see shortly, Joseph has improved the lives of countless people through his tireless work and compassion, both near and far. It's my honor to turn it over to my friend Joseph Matara.
All right. Thanks, Ted. Really, it's a pleasure to be here to speak with you and share a little bit about my journey, how I've been helped by several people along the way to get to where we are. Quite frankly, it's been a wonderful journey. So I thought for today, let me share my screen here. Can you see it?
Yep.
All right. So I thought for today, maybe we can talk about who Grace is. And people hear about Grace, they wonder who that person is. Then we'll talk about why Grace was started, who started Grace, what Grace has accomplished, and lastly, how you can work with Grace. And then we'll have some time for Q&A to answer any questions that you may have. So, who is Grace? When I tell people about Grace, the first question they ask is, "So why Grace? Who is this? Is this your mom, aunt? I mean, who is Grace?" So, really, Grace is an acronym that stands for Global Response to African Children's Education. That's really what it stands for. But the truth of the matter is, we actually started with Grace before we came up with those other words. And the reason for that is I truly feel that it's really by the grace of God that I'm able to do what I do and that we are able to help the various people that we do help. So really that's, the bottom line for me. When people ask what else it means, then I talk to them about global response to African children's education. So why did we decide to start Grace? For that, I think I'll go a little bit to my story, where I came from, and that will probably give you a sense of why we started Grace. So I was born in Kenya to a family of 10, 8 boys, 2 girls. My parents lived on a tea plantation in a town in the western part of Kenya called Kericho. So my dad was one of the people that would wake up in the morning, and his job was to go and pick tea, that would then be taken to factories to be processed. We really did not have much, but my parents emphasized education. And so at that time, the system in Kenya was that at the end of the semester, we were ranked from 1 to whatever. And our parents, most of them didn't read or write, but they knew that if, when you presented the report card, if it said something like 1 over 30, that was good. If it was 30 over 30, that really wasn't good, you know. So at least our parents knew that. And for us, we knew that on that day, if we went to bed early and my dad came home at midnight, he would definitely wake us up, right? So we knew on that day we didn't need to go to bed because he would wake us up to know, what position we took in class. And and that was because they really felt for us to improve our lives, improve the lives, improve our family. We needed to, do well in class. So education was very important to the family. And so for most families as well. So we grew up really wanting to do well in school. Unlike other parts, the developed world where, if you had a certain talent like, athletics or art or something, you stood a chance, right? But in those parts of the world, it was really through education. And so that is, what education really, meant to us. And my oldest brother, once he graduated high school, he had an opportunity to go to university, but he chose not to go to university, right? He ended up going to a teacher training college, which, unlike university where you needed 4 years to graduate, with a teacher training college, you only had to study for 2 years and get your certificate. And the reason he did that was he realized that my parents were not going to be able to pay tuition for all of us, right? All 10 of us or nine of us. And he needed to get in there, get a job so that he could, help support some of us. And quite frankly, as soon as he graduated and got a job, I was his responsibility. So my parents told him, hey, Roger, his name was Roger, you are responsible for Joseph. And he started to pay my tuition in high school. And in fact, the first day I went to high school, he's the one who went to school to get me registered, right? And then my second brother also became a teacher. He was given one of my other brothers to take care of, and then my sister, and so on and so forth. And quite frankly, if my oldest brother had chosen a different route, all of us, would have probably gone that same route, right? But because he chose education, he was able to inspire us as well. And growing up, we all dreamed about being teachers, right? It's really, really a good thing, to be a teacher. Those were our role models, quite frankly. Growing up, our role models were our teachers. We wanted to be like them. And so having a family member who was a teacher really meant a lot to us. And so as time went on, one of my older brothers had an opportunity to come to the US. And that was because one of his friends came to the US and told him about the opportunities that were here for higher education. So at that time in Kenya, we only had two universities, Nairobi University and Kenyatta University for the whole country. And so not everybody, had the opportunity to go to university. So my brother saw that if he could come here, perhaps that could open other doors. But the problem was, he's coming from a family of 10. Uh, Father is what they call a tea picker and earned maybe less than $1 a day. How are you even gonna afford to buy the air ticket, leave alone pay tuition in the US? So, but that did not stop him or the family. I remember my father waking up very early in the morning on days that he didn't go to work, which was on Sunday or Saturday afternoon after he had, finished his day's work. And he would go around, the various villages seeking donations, right, for people to help my brother raise funds to purchase the air ticket to come to the US. And people gave a nickel, people gave a dime, whatever they had. And through that, my family was able to raise enough funds so that my brother could come to the US. He came to the US, he studied, got a degree, and then I think 2 months after he graduated, he went back to Kenya. But before he did, he helped my other brother come, who also went back to Kenya. And then they brought me here, and they went back and left me here, all by myself. And through that, quite frankly, at that time, the hope was that the the community expected us somehow to give back, and that's why my brothers were in a hurry to go back and see how they could help the community. I stayed here. I met my wife in college. We got married, we got kids, and I realized that I wasn't going back as quickly as I'd hoped, and I still hope to go back, quite frankly. But I still felt that we needed to keep that promise that was made of giving back to the community. And that to me was the biggest reason why I chose to start Grace. And so when we started Grace, we had to make a decision, right? What are we going to focus on? And early on, before I even formally started Grace, my boss at New Community, who was a Catholic priest, went to Kenya, traveled to Kenya with me. And when he saw what was going on, we came back and said we needed to do something. And we started a program where we would train women in agriculture. And then once they were done, we would give them seeds and fertilizer to get started. That went on for a few years, but then after a while, the funding really stopped. And I didn't do much until 2006. A friend of mine, the late Nick Sirignano, who was my co-founder, also called me 2 days before he traveled to Kenya and said, Joseph, I'm going to Kenya for my 81st birthday. My son and his girlfriend are taking me to Kenya. I said, Nick, you can't do that to me. We've been together a long time. You needed to give me a little more notice. And he lived in Bedminster here in New Jersey. And so I told him, you go ahead, I'll give you 2 days. And then after that, I'm going to join you in Kenya, take you around so you get to see the country. And sure enough, I did that. And at that time, we visited several schools together in my hometown, which is Kisii. And when he came back, he said, Joseph, we have to do something for those kids. They were so happy. It seemed like they didn't even know the environment they were living in, but they were just happy to see us. And that's how we started Grace. And for me, it was a no-brainer, right? I'm here speaking to you today because of education, right? If I didn't do well in education and get the opportunity to come here, I would not be here speaking with you today. And so it was a no-brainer for me to really focus on education. Then the next question was, should we do high school, middle school, elementary school, college? What are we going to do? But then I felt that we really needed to catch these children early and give them an opportunity. If you wait for them in high school, at that time, 50% of the kids did not transition to high school. So you would be catching only 50%. And so that's how we made a decision to start in elementary school. And so over the years, we've really focused on different programs. One being education, which is really the pillar. Then we have health, basic health, and agriculture. But also, when we look at the history of Grace Project, I can really put it in 3 phases. The first phase was when we started Grace Project, myself and the late Nick Sirignano, and the Farrow family helped us. Then we went on, and at some point we started going down, and then we met Karen, our board president, who's here today. That actually started phase 2 of Grace project, and that has continued under her leadership. We've continued to grow. And then the third phase was really meeting team who have been very, very instrumental in our journey and have actually allowed us to even continue the dream, right? You know, and I remember sharing this story when I started Grace. We didn't need a lot of money, right? But at the end of the year, somehow I would only have, you know, like $1,000 in the account. Teacher salaries were probably 1,500, and somehow that end of the year, you know, we would find some money, and then that would see us through the following year. When Karen came, you know, the runway was a little longer, right? So we had a few more months. And then when team came, really team has allowed us to dream, because we kind of know from year to year we're going to be getting some funding. And that has helped us to look at other possibilities, not just on funding, but the creativity that we're able to bring, you know, to the table. So that's really my story, how we started Grace and how I got to be involved, and some of the people that have helped me along the way, because it truly takes a village. You know, I come from a village, and the community raised us, right? And I'm glad that I'm able to transfer that also to the US, where we've created this village of people that are that care truly about helping children across the pond. And you know, and that's why I'm really happy that you're here today. So I will then move into sharing with you a little more about what Grace does. As Ted said in our mission statement, Grace Project inspires financial, you know, independence for Kenyan families through education, healthcare, and vocational agricultural training. As I said earlier, our pillar is really education, you know, both literally, figuratively. It's really starts with education. Without education, we can't do the other programs. And so in education, if I can go to the next screen, we run a school that goes from pre-K to 8th grade. We have about 120 students. And you know, the one thing I'm so proud about, since we started the school on January 11, 2011, we've had 100% passing rate. Why is that important? It's actually more important in Kenya, where for students to transition from middle school to high school, they have to take a national exam. And if you don't do well on that exam, you kind of have to wait, maybe retake it a year later, or go to a school that is not as well equipped. And since we started, we've had 100% passing rate. Why? That's really because of the dedication from the people that assist at the school, the teachers who are a key part, and also working with the families. We believe that just as in our homes in Kenya, right, where we have this metaphor about the fireplace where you have three stones, right? You know, if you without any one of those stones, you can't cook. You always need the three stones. And for us, those stones are, you know, yes, you have the students, you need the teachers, and then you need the parents, right? Those three have to work together, you know, and I'm glad that through our model, we're able to get those three pieces working together.
Joseph,
And
you have to reshare your screen. Sorry, I don't want to interrupt, but you have to reshare your screen.
oh, I'm sorry.
I didn't want to interrupt. I just want to let you know that it's not sharing.
Yeah, okay, I'm sorry. All right. Good. You can see it now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, good. So I've talked about the school. I've talked about what you know, makes us great, what I think makes the school great. And then the programming, right? Because of team and all the other people that we work with, we're able to be creative. To give you an example, Ted and I were talking last year about, you know, maybe seeing how we could engage the students more in Kenya and and World Week. And Ted talked about how he does this program where people come in from the town, the Chamber of Commerce, and there's a Shark Tank project where students present ideas. And so we talked about it a little bit, and we said, Ted, what if we just ask the kids in Kenya to come up with challenges that they face and see if we can really start businesses, right? And so after going back and forth, we were actually able to get the kids in Kenya from sixth, seventh, and eighth grade write essays about some of their challenges, barriers that prevent them from achieving their full potential in school. And they wrote essays, and we asked them to write some solutions to those challenges, and we went through them. And actually, they came up with 3 challenges that they felt were a big impediment to their success. And these were just having the basic needs, like clothes, getting food, buying books for school. That was one big barrier they identified. Another one was for the girls missing certain days of school because of their period. And then there were another barrier that was identified is kids falling ill regularly because of what they call deficiency diseases, which are really caused by not having certain nutrients in their food. And so once they identified those, we got together again with Ted and said, hey, these kids, can come up with the solutions. They're bright enough that they could come up with the solutions. But how do we get the 2 teams to work together? So the kids in Kenya came up with the ideas of what they wanted to do, and World Week helped them prepare the presentations. And then we had judges, right? And we had kids in Kenya and the kids in the US presenting their ideas, and the judges ranked those business ideas, and team came through and provided some funding to actually help these students start businesses. And I'm glad to report that the businesses did take off. And in fact, when we had our holiday party, some of the kids had bought the shoes and clothes from their own business. So that's really great. And for the other team, the idea was to train the students on how to make reusable sanitary towels. And they have run a pilot. They've actually made some. So now we're waiting to see if we can increase production. And then the other team that does, deficiency diseases have also set up nurseries where they're going to sell seedlings, vegetable seedlings to their parents. So the schools, through this partnership with the schools here in the US, we're able to be creative, right? Because at the end of the day, we want to run programs that are not just beneficial to the kids in Kenya, but also the kids here. I think it has to have a mutual benefit. And I'm glad to say that, from what I hear from Ted, the students here really do enjoy having this partnership. The other program that we've been running, which has also gone very well with schools in Kenya and here, is the reading program. It really started in the summer of 2021, I would like to say, where we had students from the US reading to the students in Kenya, because I feel that there's a lot to learn by listening to native English speakers speak. So these kids really enjoy those sessions, and it's not just coming on and reading. The students select books to read. They read alternating US and Kenya. And then at the end, they ask each other questions. After that, we normally have a Swahili session where the kids in Kenya teach the kids here some words in Swahili. And then they have a fun session where they just dance, sing and dance. And that's one language that I feel all kids share, right? When it's time to dance, they all dance, both Kenya and, US. And then in terms of sports, that's another thing where that also presented an opportunity. In working with TED, we had the soccer team in the US and volleyball team and World Week were able to provide uniforms to the kids in Kenya for, I think it was soccer and volleyball. And that was uniforms, shoes, balls. And so that was really, really good. And another thing is STEM. That's another area of opportunity. And for STEM, we started a computer lab, which really was also funded by Team. Team gave us a grant, and through that, we were able to purchase computers that helped us start the STEM Center. So we are very, very proud of this program. And I'd also like to add that our first cohort of students graduated from university at the end of last year. And you'll see a picture of Brian Samai, who is one of our bright stars. He graduated last year. At this point, I think I just have to tell you about a little bit about Brian, right? When we started the school in 2011, Brian came in 5th grade, and it's almost every day at around 10 a.m., Brian would collapse, right? And we didn't know what the issue was. So we asked the teachers to go home to his home and see what was going on at home. And we actually found out that he was coming to school every day on an empty stomach. He did not have breakfast. So when we discovered that, we asked the teachers to include him in the little lunch program or breakfast program that they had. And so when Brian got breakfast, his problem went away. And unfortunately, that was a time where we could not afford to provide these kids with meals. But I'm glad to report that now they do get breakfast and lunch, so it's not a problem. And so when I look at Brian's picture and remember that time to seeing him now graduating from college, I mean, it really warms my heart. So that's a little bit about our education program. I'm sure I'm not covering everything, but just to give you a flavor of some of the things that that we do. And you can see pictures again. Let's see. I'm sorry. Yeah, I probably should have done this.
Don't worry about
it. All right. Good. This is better. All right, good. Yeah. So you can see some of our kids here. Very happy kids. And I took these pictures when I went to Kenya. Happy kids. And this is the reading program, right? When we have the reading program with the World Week students. And you can see, I don't know if you can see back there, they've projected on the wall. And on the other side is probably Ted and Taylor and
it's cool to see it from the other angle.
Yeah, yeah, that's what happens. That's they project it on the wall. Okay, and those are the computers that team helped us acquire. Then the second program is healthcare. In healthcare, we have a school nurse. And quite frankly, when these children come to us, they come to us with multiple needs. So it's not just their thirst and hunger for education, but they also have other barriers. Some of them have not seen a doctor, have not been to a doctor. They come in with other, pains. And so we felt that it was important to also address that need. And so we have a school nurse that looks at them every day. If there's a need, the nurse is there to take care of them. And it's not just our students at Grace, but they also visit students in other public schools who also do not have a nurse on site. The other thing that we do under this healthcare program is we're big on WASH, which is really water, sanitation, and hygiene. And in hygiene, we train these kids on how to wash their hands, use the bathroom, and it was even more critical during COVID, where we had to provide them with hand washing stations and so on and so forth. And then nutrition is also part of healthcare. So one of the programs that I'm very proud of is really bringing some of these kids in on weekends to feed them, give them a balanced diet. It's a program that has worked very well, and also through some of the support that we get from team and other donors that we work with. So sharing a few pictures, that's our nurse. And these are our kids enjoying their meal for the day. We now feed them at the school. And then these are both boys and girls who we provided what we call dignity kits to. And for the boys, it's really mainly a vest and underwear. And then for the girls, it's underwear as well as sanitary pads, which they need. That's another program that we run. And going forward, they'll be making their own. And that's another school where we also did provide those items. Then lastly, it's agriculture training. And in Kenya, the government has now reintroduced 4K clubs, which in the US, I think are referred to as the 4H clubs. Here, we train them because farming in Kenya is not seen as something of value by the kids. Most kids want, their dream is to go and work in the big city. But we do know that we all need to eat, right? And so we have a school farm where these kids participate, growing some of the food. And most of the food that we feed them really comes from the school farm. And you can see some of the work that we do with them. This is a vertical garden because space is limited. You can see how they started and what it looks like. We have the kids here with their teacher. And then these are sweet potatoes that they grow. And for the sweet potatoes, because some of the kids really, they have deficiencies in vitamins. So we grow foods that help supplement. So even potatoes, we have what are called, orange fleshed potatoes, which are fortified with vitamins. And these are the kids picking collard greens for the day. Yeah, very fresh from the garden to kitchen and to the table. And then that's really my presentation. And here I have a picture of the kids who were so happy that we were able to provide them with clean water through the support of one of our board members. We were able to get funds to drill a borehole so that we have guaranteed water for the kids throughout the year. And so that's it. That's it, really. I want to thank you for listening to me. And I'll now open it up to if you have any questions for me.
Is today's January 11th? Is it really been what did you say? Today was the day it first opened? Like,
wow, I did not even realize that. So the school started on January 11, 2011.
Wow, that's so funny.
Wow. Yeah,
Happy
I did not even
anniversary.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
great.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. So I don't know, Ted, if you want to add anything, Karen, if you want to add anything, just feel free.
Yes,
Or
Joseph,
yeah.
if you can just elaborate a little bit, since you are a social entrepreneur yourself, and we are striving to instill those values in our students. Do you have any tips or any words of wisdom as to how we can inspire our students to make a difference?
Yeah, so I think Ted, for me, really is, whatever we do, we need to make sure that the kids see value in what they are doing. And we are there to support them. So as much as we can, we show them what the problem is. We can share with them what the possible solutions are, but really allowing them to feel that they are driving it, I think it's always helpful. And to that end, I also thank team, right? Because team also provides some seed funding. If the kids have an idea and they need some funds to bring it to life, team then does provide funds to help them get started. Yeah.
So, I think too, maybe if Ted and Joseph, if you could expand on your experience with I think not even so much sustaining but starting the virtual program, because that's something that a lot of our prospective schools are really interested in. And as you know, like the village school is going to be starting this program too, and I think it would be helpful to know what it was like from a teacher's perspective, Ted, to kind of start something like that, and then Joseph, what you've seen as a result of all of it.
Sure. So this the virtual tutoring program and the Shark Tank program that we've done together in collaboration, and also the holiday party that we just had, which was great. We did a joint holiday party with the students in Kenya, and it's really brought our experience to a new level, having that collaboration. Um, it's great to work with these organizations around the world and to do fundraising, but then to add that extra connection where my students in Waldwick are interacting with students from Grace has really been such a great blessing for us. And Joseph, you mentioned it before, but the students that do the tutoring and also did the Shark Tank project, they get as much out of it as the students do in Kenya. I have students just so much positive feedback from their experience being involved with that. I think the key though is really making a connection and making a contact with your site leader. So Joseph and I kind of hit it off right away. So as a team teacher, to be able to reach out to the site leader and see what their needs are. Even the Shark Tank project that we did started out with an idea, but then the teachers in Kenya and Joseph had a variation on it, which really worked a lot better. So just being open to those suggestions really helped. But I think just having that connection and maintaining the connection with the site leader is really integral.
So for us, one of the challenges was really connectivity. When we started, internet connection was very spotty, but then over the years, it's improved, and we're able to get good connectivity. And then the other thing is really being able to have computers on site. And again, that is support that we got from team. Yeah, so that's one of the challenges, really connectivity. But if you are able, if your school or your site has connectivity, then I think that is the basic ingredient. With that, it opens other doors. I mean, we started with the reading, and then we thought about the holiday party where, it's a real party. Kids in Kenya at 3 p.m., kids in the US at 7 in the morning, just having a good time. And then Ted also introduced some programs, online programs, where the kids would ask themselves questions. And that has also worked very well. So it's really connectivity, I think, to me is the basic thing that has to be there first.
I think you mentioned too, Joseph, about the time difference, right? That was a little bit of a hurdle that we had to work out.
Yeah.
And I've been pleasantly just encouraged to see students in my classroom at 7 a.m., ready and raring to go for the tutoring program. So don't underestimate your students' willingness to even get up early and do some of these things. I don't know if Taylor's still there, or did she?
Yes, I'm still here.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay. I thought you froze.
No, I'm still here. No, I'm still here. I
Gotcha,
apologize.
gotcha.
I had someone pop in.
Okay.
I do have I don't want to be the one to ask all the questions because I have my own questions that I like to ask for Joseph. But I think yeah, I apologize. I just had somebody stop into my house real quick. So I lost you for a minute. Was there something on my end that you needed me to actually answer or provide from a team perspective?
No, 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 no.
Okay.
We just chatted a little bit about the tutoring and the exchange, but I guess
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if anybody has any other questions or for Joseph.
I think if any of the so for Audrey and Phyllis in particular, especially because you are going to be new to all of this, um if you have questions about like how to create almost like establish relationships with the site leader, or for your students to have connections with their students, like this would be a great time to ask. So if you have any questions about those that we can answer or that Joseph can answer, please feel free to ask, because um like I said, I have several questions, but I want to give you the opportunity to ask because this is for you.
Hi, so Audrey from Ramsey here, and we're just starting the process, and we have like a small group, but a very enthusiastic group of kids who want to be involved. So I think it's a sort of twofold. Like I'm just picturing that Taylor, you're my sort of I go to you first when I have a question about like, well, how does this work? So the girls want to get the shoe drive going. And I think a lot of this, Ted, is kind of piggybacked on what you do in Waldwick, because our main student leader's mom works in Waldwick. So they kind of we're sort of taking your inspiration and your playbook and seeing what works for us. So that's kind of our next step, is they want to raise money through that venue to kind of fund the kids at the Gray School. So like I'll be reaching out, I imagine, either to you, Taylor, or to you, Ted, on like, so what does that look like? What does that flyer look like when I need to go talk to an administrator on like the who, the what, the where, that they're going to ask before I put a box
Oh yeah.
for shoe donations, like, in each school and things like that. And then the second thing, and it's really just, I think, a matter of time, is there is a lot of interest for the students I have in team to like see the kids at the school that they're helping, and do have that connection. So it's not just like we're helping in this kind of abstract way, but also to kind of make that connection. So I'll be reaching out to you, I imagine, to kind of help me with the practicalities of that.
Yeah, and that's
actually
also Michelle's role. Yep,
yeah, that's actually I'm happy. So we haven't met yet, Audrey. I'm Michelle Delfertino. I'm the director of school programs. So I help with the logistics. Taylor's like big picture, and she usually onboards a lot of schools and gets the process starting. And then like the sustaining part is like where I come in. Taylor's very busy person, and so but we also expand, and so we have different roles, and so that's where I usually help with schools. Like I create flyers, I'll create letters, I'll create websites, I'll do all of that stuff for you kind of on the back end, to help you with like navigating the logistics. I'm also an administrator in a school district. I work at Glen Rock Public Schools. So I also know what they're also looking for when it comes to stuff like that. So yeah, that's my job at team, and I'm happy to help you. And Ted's a great resource as well. And if your kids want to hop on the Zooms with Joseph's, like I can send you the link. They can also just, that's usually what I'll suggest to a school, is like to hop on, especially in the beginning, to see how it goes. So like Joseph is as excellent. I'm like, oh, can this person come? Can this person come? And Joseph's like, yeah, just invite everybody. So that's usually like step one is hopping onto TED Zoom and kind of just seeing what the process is like and the reading program and how it's structured. And that's usually like a nice segue into it. And then we can start you know, exploring other options just with like Ramsey and Joseph School, but usually just to get a feel for what the events are, we just hop in on what's already there.
That's super helpful. I'll definitely be reaching out to you because I know you
Yeah,
want to get started like they're, soon. Thank
absolutely.
you.
Yeah, my pleasure.
So Audrey, Jordan just reached out to me today too about this shoe drive. So
Oh, great.
she has some more details about that. But if you want to, anytime you want to talk or definitely we should get together and do that.
That's great.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, she's been taking great initiative.
Mhm.
Phyllis, do you have any questions about anything in particular?
I do. So our situation is very different than Audrey's in that we have like 275, 300 kids in 12 classes that we're doing this with. So I'm just trying to figure out how that's going to work. And also you mentioned like the board approval. So I can't hear about something and jump in. I have to know like 3 months in advance so I can write the proposal and send it to the board. So I'd almost have to, I'm kind of seeing it. I'm writing the curriculum. I'm in the process of writing it to implement it, but I'm almost feeling like I would have to have like sort of the year mapped out. Is that possible?
Oh yeah, definitely. So what I would say is you and I can talk offline, obviously, when we have, we can like sit down and talk and we can go over everything that you're going to need. So that's something that I'm working with a Darren and a Daryl. What is Darren is DCL, no? I'm mixing. I have like 4 schools. I have like a Darren, a Daryl. I'm mixing up who I've been speaking with.
Joaquin, maybe Joaquin.
And Joaquin. Yes, thank you, Joaquin. There's Daryl, Joaquin. Okay. So we've been speaking with him, and since this is for you going to be more like big picture, like what I do for a lot of new schools is once you decide which country you're going to work with, like if you feel like learning about Kenya, like now you know Joseph a little bit more and can understand the programs and projects, now that you have an idea of that, we can map out your whole year and do everything that you need to do at the pace that you're ready to do it. And so you'll reach out to me for that. So Michelle is going to be more like, once you are established and ready to go with certain things, like that's when Michelle will be tagged in, and then other than that, it'll be you and I can sit down and do whatever you need.
Okay. All right, great.
Joseph, I have a question. So as we start to get more and more schools with team and more schools to join our Kenya pod, is there, like, from the Grace Schools perspective, is it something that more and more classes and teachers are looking for, or is it almost like overwhelming, and can we look at another area for support? Like now that we have, particularly as we have more schools that are going to be signing on, where is the need the greatest? Like, is it something that the students are, they see that some of these classes are doing this, and then we had the Shark Tank and like others want to get involved virtually? Or would you like some of our schools to now switch gears and interact in other ways? What do you think?
Yeah. So the reading program is the most popular program. Every class wants to be part of it, really.
That's so
That's
nice.
Yes,
awesome.
Yeah.
yes. So the limitation we have though is it seems like we can only have maybe one a day. I mean, we only have one book, right? So we can still have multiple classes participating, but the problem is the time difference. So, for example, World Week is Thursday. I think the village school is going to be Tuesday. So Wednesday is available, Monday is available, Friday is available. So every child really wants to participate in
And
that
that's something
program.
that we can so that would be something for for the schools that start to sign on, when we talk to them like, hey, like this is what we do with Kenya and the Grace Project students, that's still something we can continue to offer. It'll just be like limited picking.
Right.
But it's still like, it's not, because what we, the one of the most important things at team is to make sure that we are addressing what the community needs based on what the community is telling us. We don't want to inundate. And it's like everyone wants to do this, but it's like, it's becoming a lot on Grace's side. But if all the students are interested and it's something that we can handle, like, so is that something you want us to have our schools continue to do?
Yes, and actually, to me, I think it also forms a very good entry point for these kids to get to know one another.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then we also have the Shark Tank project. I think that also needs to expand. We really need to find ways that we can, continue that program this year again, continue to grow it, continue to train the kids. So that's another need. The other one is we now have, or we're actually working on building a science lab, which hopefully will be done, this in the next couple of months. So we're going to also need items that go into a lab, items that are used for STEM. Is there a way we can collaborate also? I mean, I remember when we started the reading program, Ted, the icebreakers that, were science experiments, that also was a hit, right? and so are there ways that we can have even programs around STEM? Because this is the first primary school in the country that is really starting a STEM program, the first primary school in the country. So there lots of opportunities there if we can find a way to really work with them on STEM.
Great. And so knowing that too, like Audrey and Phyllis, like
I'm
wheels can start
I
turning.
think Audrey wants
I'm
to
so
say
excited.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great. Okay, so I do want to be conscious of everyone's time. So if anyone has any final questions, now would be the time to ask.
Can I just ask Audrey, are you a science or a math teacher?
I'm a science teacher.
Oh, great. Okay.
Yes,
Awesome.
and I'm a science coach, and I work 6-12, so it's kind of nice. Like
Nice.
I would definitely see enthusiasm on my end
Yeah.
to wake up early and
Okay.
do
Yeah.
STEM.
Yeah. Do
And
you
that's
run
important.
any science contests?
I teach earth science and life science biologies. But like the 6 middle school here is a little bit of everything. So
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, so I can see a situation where we have some programs, I mean, contests where we can
Right.
have the kids in Kenya participating and the kids here
Right.
competing. Yeah, yeah.
Making
Along those-
observations in each language, really, like, right?
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's great. And that's something that's really important for team, is that we want the teachers to have fun with this, right? So now that we know that, it's like, ooh, so Audrey's a science teacher. What can we do with this? That's really important for us. So I'm glad that you mentioned that.
One of my fundraising ideas to the girls was, since they want to raise money, they mentioned the science lab. We have crazy beakers of all weird sizes and stuff. Like, guess how many things are in the,
Yeah.
the beaker for beakers or
Right, yeah.
whatever the equipment is,
Yeah.
Right.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
Great. So, well, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much. An extra special thank you to Joseph. I mean, you were really, everyone loves listening to you. It's great hearing your story.
Oh,
You're very
thank you.
inspirational. And
Thank you.
I think that there's a lot that is going to be happening with team and with the Grace Project. And so we're very fortunate to have you as a partner. And thank you for Ted for putting together this winter webinar series. We have 2 more coming up. We're going to do 1 a month. And so if there's any final words that either of you would like to say, go for it.
Ted?
I was just gonna say Joseph.
All right. So no, mine is really to
God,
thank you
you wrap
for
it up for us. You wrap it
no,
up.
mine is to thank you for taking the time to listen to me and hear about Grace Project and the programs that we run. I'm local. I'm here in New Jersey. So if you need me to come up and meet with the kids, say something to them, I can always make it happen. Yeah.
That's wonderful.
And thank you, Audrey and Phyllis, for joining us. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. We'll be in
Yeah.
touch.
Yes, thanks for having us. Nice to see you all.
All right.
Absolutely. Thank
We'll
you.
talk soon.
Nice
Everyone
to
have a
meet
good night.
you.
All
You
right.
too.
Take
Bye.
care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.